critical in my view. Thank you very much. Councillors, we now, there is no public input. We come to extraordinary items, and I've been advised by Councillor Chris Fletcher that she wishes to raise an issue which she and I and Councillor Casey and others have had a chance to discuss. So there is action being taken on that, and there is a memo that I've sent out this morning. Hopefully you've read your emails this morning, and a fairly full explanation of our options from Megan Tyler. But I do want to give Councillor Fletcher a chance just to speak to the item, and then Councillor Casey briefly, and then I don't think we probably need to make it an extraordinary item, but we do need to make sure we're acting on it with a sense of urgency. Councillor Fletcher.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. Since I approached you on this, I've been very pleased to see Megan's input in terms of the information that has been provided. But for those of you who are not familiar with this tree but might be familiar with Mount Eden, if the Mount Eden Bowling Club, which is a sort of iconic building along Stokes Road, is in your mind, you will perhaps recall that there is a magnificently framed Pahutakawa tree that sits behind it. That is the tree at 8 Eglinton Avenue on a private property that the Legacy Auckland City Council thought noteworthy to actually record under the scheduled trees. My understanding, without going into a lot of detail, it was just a clerical oversight that saw it not put into the unitary plan as a notable tree. The current owner, I think, has been there since 2015, and he purchased knowing there was a scheduled tree on that site. However, it is now clear that because of however that happened, whatever oversight there was, there is no protection on that tree at the moment. I think we are at a really important time when the credibility of Auckland Council when it comes to tree protection is most important. And so for such an oversight to occur, there would be, I can't tell you the drama that would ensue if that tree was chopped down. And right at the moment, there is nothing there to protect that 100-year-old Pahutakawa from taking place. Now, I know that Megan Tyler is one of our most hardworking directors, and she is doing magnificent work in that area, and she's probably really alarmed on the precedent that this potentially might set, because of some other 570 odd trees that probably fall into this category, not necessarily because of error, but because of what we now know of the noteworthy characteristics of these trees that are really important to Aucklanders. But I've been following this since January, and as the former sponsor of the Tree Council's private members' bill on tree protection, I acknowledge that Mark Lockhart, who sits on the Tree Council and is a landscape architect, has done some incredible work behind the scenes. He's received legal advice on it. I'm heartened by the advice that we have now received from Megan Tyler. So it's for that reason I have brought it to your attention today. It might be to you not a matter of extraordinary business, it just relates to one tree, but it's symbolic to me of the importance of trust that our community have in us, that we are monitoring those things that they hold dear. And so as the Legacy Auckland City Council saw it noteworthy, I commend it to you. I realise the practicalities around this, and it will be interesting to have Megan or Jim Stabeck speak to us. I also understand the financial constraints that the council is currently in, and as I've already alluded to, the additional 570 odd trees that we would like to actually, when we do a review of notable trees, we would like to see scheduled. But for me, this is drawing a line in the sand to say that we respect our community and we respect those things that they hold dear, and we must correct this oversight. So I thank you for your indulgence, Your Worship, for allowing me to raise this. As much as I would actually like to see something recorded today, maybe a resolution in empowering our officers to act on this, because right now, even if we embark on this process, as the note from Megan will have informed councillors, maybe it's going to require an injunction, because there is nothing legally to stop that landowner actually getting his chainsaw out today and actually chopping it down. He will be quite entitled inside his legal rights to do that. And I think that would be a travesty. So, Your Worship, I'll hand it back to you. And if we are to deal with the matter, I would like to feel that we have some resolution to give comfort to those of us here today who have concern over this matter.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Just before inviting Councillor Casey to speak to the item, I had a discussion with Jim on Monday of this week where I found out about what the problem was, and I've had subsequent discussions with Megan Tyler. My view was very, very clear. This is a magnificent tree, and there is no one here that would want to see this tree destroyed because a clerical error was made that meant that it failed to be listed in the schedule of trees when the Auckland Unitary Plan was introduced. The memo that you've all got sets out all of the options that we have, and the undertaking we have already from Megan Tyler is that she will come back to us as soon as the work is done so that we can make a decision about the option that we want to follow. My view is that this will, because of the error, unfortunately involve some costs, but it's equally my view that you cannot allow a tree of this heritage nature that we've already scheduled once to be destroyed inadvertently. That is not an option from my point of view. And for the councillors that I've had a chance to discuss this with earlier in the week, and there's probably been, probably got through to 8 or 9 councillors on it, that view is shared by others around this table. So the reason that I'm suggesting we don't need to make it an item of extraordinary business is because we are now taking the action that is necessary. There is urgency around that action, and in the memo I've sent to you is it makes it clear that I want a recommendation to come back to whatever committee we can put this in front of as quickly as possible to take that action. So I don't want to duplicate all of the discussions that we've had already, but Councillor Casey,
Your Worship, just on that though, before you take a further call, could Mr Stabeck give me the reassurance that he has the authorisation and his staff and the delegations that are required to ensure that that tree is not chopped down?
Jim, would you like to answer that, or would you prefer to have Megan come to the table? Maybe Megan, you've done the spade work on this. What I can say in answer to you.
Point of order, Mayor. There's someone just filming and taking photos, and I don't know if they have permission to do that. I'm
sorry, that's not permitted under standing orders. So could you please put the camera away? What I can assure, thank you for drawing that to my attention, Councillor. What I can assure you is that we will be giving urgency to do everything we can to stop the potential destruction of this tree. At the moment, no resource consent has been entered into to develop the property. The property owner has been approached, and that's appropriate as the first step. But because of an inadvertent error, we are not going to see the destruction of this tree. But Megan, you might like to just speak briefly to the options. We will go through this in a formal council session, so I don't want to spend a long time on it, but if you can maybe just outline, without repeating everything in the memo that's gone to every councillor already, if you'd just like to comment quickly on the councillor's question.
The question is specifically around, does she have sufficient delegations to be able to act?
And the answer is yes. But Megan, you should answer that yourself.
Thank you, through you, Mr Chair. Thank you, Councillor Fletcher. Yes, we do. However, depending on the options that we need to take, for example, a plan change, that would need to go through the normal resolution process through the planning committee which is the usual committee. So I absolutely have a delegation to act now, as per the memo. There may well be, depending on the advice I come back to you with, there may be some further delegations, resolutions that you need to make as a council around that.
So if a chainsaw was produced today and an injunction was required, you have the delegations?
Yes.
Thank you.
Finish with a quick comment, Councillor Casey, if you'd like to add to that. There's the other ward councillor.
Oh, there's just two people I want to thank. One is Mark, and Councillor Fletcher's already mentioned Mark, but it takes an individual in the community to not just bring something to the attention of the council, but to challenge the council. And Mark did that, and so we owe him a great debt of thanks. But the other person definitely I need to thank, and there's, you know, we're just about to go into the review, and I'll always be indebted to the Mayor for instigating that to prevent another death at the port. But you saw immediately that a mistake has to be sorted. You know, we make mistakes, and it's not up to the community to have a petition and fundraise for legal action. It's up to us to put it right. And hats off to the Mayor. Thank you for your leadership.
Great. Thank you very much, Councillor Casey. I'll get the microphone right. I'm now expecting the next step is that Megan will report back to us, and probably at the Planning Committee, on the most urgent way forward, an effective way forward to rectify that mistake without putting at risk the tree in question. This is not just an ordinary tree. It's a tree we've already recognised as deserving to be scheduled, and it is, for anybody that's seen it, a magnificent tree, and we do not want to see the destruction of that tree. I think that probably sums up what most of us think. I'm reluctant to take further calls on it, but a quick comment,
Thank
Councillor.
you, Mayor. I guess just the legal side of things, I just wonder if we can take any of I imagine there were resolutions from 2013 or 14 when it went through that says the intent. There might be a way we could look at that. And the other thing is, are there other ways, because I know the legal process takes a while, to work alongside the landowner in the short term, without putting legal things. Maybe the owner doesn't want to necessarily cut it down right now, and we're assuming things. But there might be quicker ways to work while the legal process takes its course.
Yeah, and that's precisely why the first step that we took was to get somebody to approach the landowner, who has been non-committal at this stage. But look, I acknowledge the rights of the landowner and because of the mistake we made, but equally acknowledge there'd be public outrage if somebody were to take preemptive action to destroy a tree whose protection has been removed only because of an administrative error, and which this council has acknowledged needs to be preserved.
But just on the question of the error, are there precedents in the past where a decision has been made, the intent, say in court, has been shown, but or have we actually missed the legal requirement? Because I imagine if it was in documents in the unitary plan 6 or 7 years ago, whenever the decision was made.
I don't know whether Megan's got an answer on that now, but she could certainly ask legal and come back to you. Did you want to comment on it, to Megan?
Through the chair, look, it wasn't in the unitary plan, but it was in the previous legacy plans. So look, we have looked at that. Be assured that we're looking at all the various options. It's not quite as simple, unfortunately, as being able to just rectify a mistake under the Resource Management Act. But I appreciate your questions. I know where you're heading with it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Your Worship, just one short question if we conclude the item. Megan or Jim, in whatever report comes back to the Planning Committee, will there be some analysis of the other trees that I've referred to earlier? And secondly, I'm really remiss, Jim, in recognising Melissa Bidouar and also James Stevens, who did such an amazing job from Democracy Services in enabling us to bring this item today. They don't often get the recognition they should, and they have done an outstanding job in highlighting this without actually attacking officers, but just bringing it forward in a healthy way.
That is in the memo, but you might like to briefly sum it up, Megan.
Thanks, through the chair. Yes, we will. Normally that would take ages and ages of work, of time to do, but we're taking sample, we're getting a sense of it. I'm very happy to bring that back to you as part of this package.
Thank you, and we certainly don't want to see other errors of that nature. That's why we're taking the trouble to double check that there haven't been other trees inadvertently omitted. Right, thank you very much, and thank you for raising that, Councillor. We now move to item number 9, which is the independent review of health